Hello and welcome back, Doodle Crew! We have another wonderful interview bringing to you fresh today. I'm sitting down with the amazing Laura Charles. Laura, thanks for joining me.
Hi.
Yay!
I'm so
I'm
happy
so
to be
excited.
here.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you. So we're gonna jump right in, and I realized as I was about to ask this question, I was like, I don't know if I remember the answer to it. So hopefully you remember. Do you remember when and how we met? I know it was
Uh,
Comic-Con, but I don't know if I remember
I'm
from
not
there.
sure. I'm not sure it was Comic-Con because I
Okay.
think I think we were teaching at 171 at the Art
Okay.
Center, and there was a teachers meeting, and we started talking about Comic-Con, and I was like, I have never done that before, but I want to, and can you help me? And you said yes,
Yes, yes.
and then we
Yes,
and
yes,
then we
yes.
were friends.
I love it. I'm so happy because it's funny.
that's
Like
my
I was
that's
thinking
how I
back.
remember it.
I love that. I was like, I've been friends with Laura for a really long time. I don't know if I remember when we started being friends. Oh,
Yeah,
brain.
I remember. Well, I remember because I really legit had no idea what I was doing, and you saved me. So,
Oh, glad. No, I was super excited. And for anybody, if you're unfamiliar with Laura's work, she has the most wonderful, like painterly cartoon illustration stuff that I adore. So having you, and I got to sit next to you at a Baltimore Comic Con, which was awesome. So
yes,
that
that's
was
always
very
great.
fun. Yeah. Yeah. So, in talking art history and education, I've been asking everybody, are you an Art Institute of Pittsburgh alumni?
I'm not.
No.
I have a lot of Art Institute of Pittsburgh alumni friends, but I am not an alumni of your school. Unfortunately, that would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was weird to me as I was collecting people for Doodle Crew because a lot of the artists I know were friends from college, but also like a bunch of the Comic-Con people that we also see at shows local to us are from there as well. And I'm just like, this is such a weird like nexus thing. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of like, how does this happen?
yeah.
No, I went to school at the Cleveland Institute of Art um, in Cleveland, Ohio. And then I got out of college and I was like, what do I do? And so I got my master's degree
Yep.
at the Academy of Art University, and that's out in San Francisco. So
Nice.
that was a lot of fun too. So
I was gonna say between the two, which did you like better, or are they just so totally different you can't compare?
um honestly, so I liked them both, but for different reasons. So let's see, Cleveland Institute of Art had, the teachers were great. I loved the other students I was there with. Their facilities were really amazing. So, like, we got into our major sophomore year, we immediately got it was a 5-year program. Oh my God, they don't do that anymore. So you had 2 years of foundations, then third year you got into your major.
Wow.
And that year, basically, I get my own studio the minute you get into your major, which isn't I have found is not actually very typical.
Hmm.
So you have your own space, your own studio space. The printers were really great. So I was in the illustration department, and it was right next to the photography department, and we got to use their old photo printing printers. So that's
Nice.
where I don't know if you're aware of my print snobbery, but that is where that comes from. It's because I worked with the printers in the photography department, which were really excellent. And just the overall vibe, I really liked that school. The Academy of Art University, the location was baller. I loved it. It was freakishly expensive, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's San Francisco. There's all kinds of things to see. Like, it's beautiful. You can drive 30 minutes and you're in the mountains. Like, it's really beautiful. The teachers were all like so experienced and really excellent. Like, I love my teachers in Cleveland Institute of Art, but they were pretty old school. And the people
Okay.
who taught in California at the Academy of Art were more like they'd been in the industry more recently, kind of thing.
It makes a
Um,
difference. You
yeah,
definitely get different perspective from both of those elements.
definitely. And they were both really crucial to my, just to the way I work now. And told you this was going to happen. Everyone, you're going to see this is here. She will be popping in and out because that's what she does.
She's got good ups though.
She does. She does. And I'm on a counter height stool too. Like that's a pretty big jump for a small cat.
Oh, I love it.
But the one thing that killed me about that school was that when you had to do presentations, they'd be like, print your thing out. And I'd be like, okay, well, where's our printer? Like, our nice department printer. And they were like, there's a laser printer over there in the computer lab. I'm like, and then they were like, I mean, you could take it to Kinko's. And then I was like, like, no, what's wrong with you?
You said the bad words.
oh, so bad. So yeah, they were like, you could sign up for photo classes and printmaking classes, and then you could use their printers. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. But yeah, so. But yeah, everything else was great about it.
I feel like it's one of those too, like once you've had a taste of nicer supplies or nicer printing or like different things, like it can be really hard sometimes to go back and be like, but the prints that I get from Kinko's are not good. Like my colors don't look good. Like
you can't correct them. You can't.
Yeah.
No. And they don't know what they're talking about either. You go there and you're like, I'd like, 120 GSM paper. And they're like, pounds? And I'm like, no, not pounds.
Not pounds. They're different.
How do you work here?
Yeah.
How do you sell paper and prints? I don't understand. But it's fine. Like that, because they don't have to deal with that. Why would they? Right. It's like I'm a picky bitch. I don't know.
I feel like of all the things to be like super, super picky on, that's probably not the most offensive thing. Just like
it could be worse. I could be complaining about, the temperature of my lattes. So
this is true.
Which I have heard about people that do that. Sorry. If anyone does that, I'm sorry.
I complain to myself when I drink hot lattes too fast and burn my tongue, but that's on me because like I know better and I still do it. So
no, this is the kind of thing where they're like, you have to brew my latte at exactly 102.5 degrees or it will ruin the flavor. It's that kind of thing. Yeah.
So the once in a while customers I get at the winery, I'm just like, okay. They're like, well, did you age your wine like this? I'm like, sure.
You're like, yeah, let's say we did.
For the 600 other people I'm going to talk to today who are pleased as punch with this. Okay. I'm sorry that our American oak barrels were not what you were expecting.
Yeah. So I'm like that, but with paper prints. Sorry.
That's too funny. I'll keep that in mind. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So that like when I get bad prints, I'll be like, don't show Laura. Like, oh no, she's gonna see it's gonna be bad.
No, you can show me. I would feel really bad for you. So I'd be like, oh my God, are you okay?
Who did this to you? Who
hurt you?
Who hurt you?
I will kick their ass. No, it's fine.
I love it. So,
and the other thing about that, one last thing, you did not get your own studio space there. Sometimes if you were a senior or a junior, you could enter like a raffle and sometimes get a studio space. But because everything's so expensive out there, space is at a premium and they just didn't have like Cleveland, it's cheap. You can buy a warehouse for like $5. So it's not accurate, but similar.
Yeah, and I think it's a funny thing because I know at least for us coming out of the Art Institute on the East Coast, like for animation, the West Coast was everything. Animation and games. Like it was kind of that understood, if you didn't make it out there, you probably weren't going to make it, which is certainly not the case now. And I don't know that it was the only case then, but it's the same thing. Like the opportunities we had over here, we had the space, we had the room to kind of play with some more stuff because we weren't paying California prices.
Right. Yeah.
I also have a cat visitor, so we're just gonna make sure she doesn't knock all my stuff over. So when it comes to making art, how long have you been making art?
That's a hard question since I was yay big. I guess that depends on what you mean by making art. Like, so I've been drawing and exploring art, since childhood and basically just never stopped doing it. I think a lot of people peter out around middle school, and I was just like, no, I like this. I'm gonna keep doing it. And especially like at that age, I was like, I'm not that great at this, but if I work, it's like everything else. Like I just worked harder at it and then got better at it. So, real long time.
I think that's a good point though with the middle school age, because I think that's when all of a sudden you have, whether it's a conscious realization or not, you suddenly realize the amount of work that it might take to get better. And I think some people are just like, I don't want to do that. And it's not a negative thing on them. It's just they'd rather put their energy somewhere else. And I do think we're a little bit crazy because sometimes we're like, no, we're going to work so much harder to get this. And we're never going to be like the best. We're just always going to be getting better. So,
I'll never be satisfied with anything I do. That's not true. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's all right.
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
There are times where I can let it be as it is and let it go. But there are other times where I'm just like, I could work this piece for the rest of my life and I don't know that I'll ever be happy with it. So we'll do something new instead.
Yes. That's a hard, it's hard to decide when to let that go because I will get into that death spiral where I'm just like,
yeah,
not till you're perfect.
Yeah.
Will never happen. So. But I think the other thing, in middle school is around the time that people are like, no, you really have to decide what you're going to do for life. Oh, art? No, it's not going to be that. Oh, lacrosse? Yeah, definitely go for that. Like, for some reason, art is not one of those things that they're like worthwhile, pursuit. Music tends to make it, I think, because it's connected easily to math skills. So it's really easy to sell that. Sports, it's good for you.
It is. It always shocked me with people like pushing so hard to get, because I had been pushed to get, to apply for like sports scholarships and stuff like that. I was like, I feel like I have a less good chance of succeeding with that than I do with art, which has so many applications. Like that was always surprising to me. I was like, but what if I get hurt? What if I don't want to play this sport 9 months a year? Like art I can do in so many ways. Yeah. I think even though it has come so far, I think there's still some very specific notions about being a starving artist and, living on the street. And it's not really in line with how artists work these days.
No, well, I think it really wasn't ever. Like,
no, like even Andy Warhol, like they were living the life that they wanted. Like it was weird, but it was the life that they wanted.
Yeah, I'm not saying there aren't, there weren't artists that were out starving for their art or whatever, but I mean, Michelangelo wasn't starving for his art. He was getting a lot of money. I mean, not till he was older, before that he was getting a moderate amount of money.
So. Yeah, I feel like if we're only ever using like Van Gogh as the standard for artists, like at a certain point, I'm like, this doesn't totally align with how things work anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, there was that period where, like if you weren't a legitimate artist unless you were, mental anguish for your art, up to and including homelessness or, but I think that seemed to be a very brief period of art history. But it really stuck around in mentality. Like that's like,
I think it's a fear thing. I think that scared people so much that it just then became almost like the old wives' tale. Like this is what you, just like a Grimm fairy tale, this is what you tell your children so that they don't become homeless artists.
Like, never become an artist. You'll question things and then start thinking and
none of that.
No.
Oh, it's funny. Okay, so as we're talking about that, for now, is art your primary job and or career?
I think that depends on how you define art. My art is not my primary job or career right now. I am working in the graphic design field for an architecture firm right now. So I'm applying my skills for a moderately sized business. So yes, in that way.
Yeah.
So I am trying to fit in my own artwork around that, which is hard.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's been COVID. You'd think with COVID I'd have more time because we're not going anywhere, but I've just been so mentally and emotionally burned out that I haven't had this.
Yeah.
Haven't really been able to do anything with that extra time. So I'm going to make another big push for it though this fall. So we're going to see how that goes.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. And it's the juggling act is exhausting sometimes. And I know you and I have talked specifically when it comes to how much of our personal art is our job and then how much of a like day job is our job and then teaching and all these things. And I know we've both kind of worked through a bunch of different workflow types because one thing doesn't always work for the extended time. And I know, we've both experienced the burnout of certain jobs where I'm like, this is taking up too much of my energy and I don't get to do what I love and I just can't do it anymore. But at the same time, I have to pay my rent and I have to keep a roof over my head. So it's a constant juggling act.
Definitely a balance. And I feel like, I'll figure it out at one point and then suddenly things change. And then I'm like, what happened? I just figured this out. I don't know. So, so I don't know. I'm also teaching some really great students right now, which I am loving. They're all seniors this year, so that's weird. They're graduating. I feel like an auntie or something.
Yeah. No, it's getting to that weird point where now like the high school students that I interact with and I'm just like, oh, like we're decently removed from each other in this, but I'm also like weirdly like super proud of you and I can't wait to see what you do, but also I'm like I hate you a little bit because you're so young and you have so much, like you're so much farther ahead of me than I was at your age.
Oh my god, they're so much more like they're like, am I pretty good? They're like, how are you? I'm like, you're like so much better than I was in high school.
So much better.
Like so much better. But the competition is higher too. Like so they also kind of have to be, I hate to say it, but
no, but you're not wrong. Yeah.
You wanna swim with the big fishes. You gotta be, you gotta be good.
Yeah.
But I've been teaching these kids since they were like 12 and 13. So it's been a while.
I love that so much. Yeah.
So cute.
And that's a lot of change from even from freshman to senior. Like there's a lot of art change. There's a lot of personal change. Like those are big years. So it's big. I love it.
A lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. I had to take a moment during COVID and kind of give myself a little bit of a break because I was being so hard on myself for not getting more of my own art done. But I was like, you know what? We're just surviving. That's okay. This art will be here in the future. Like, yep, this is a lot. So
yeah, I'm like, I did something in my sketchbook this week. Good for you.
Yeah.
Success. You did something. Anything.
Just like what we did a little bit is good. That's good. Yeah. So when it came to like working through, because I consider you having a very unique, very distinct style. Like, how did you find your style? How did you find your niche when it came to creating art?
A lot of traveling back and forth between things that I liked. So I originally got into illustration, was my major, because I loved reading. I loved books. I wanted to do book covers. That was what I wanted to do. And then about 3/4 of the way through my undergraduate degree, I discovered concept art. I had no idea that was a thing until that point of my life. And I fell in love with that. Like I was just like, oh my God, no one ever sees this art, but it's crucial to creating movies, to creating animations, and it's all so beautiful, like just gorgeous work. And I was like, how much do I care if people actually see what I do, if I can contribute something to like something so beautiful? Like I just and the world building, like I have a tendency to like caught up in research and to get caught up in like trying things out and thinking too much about stuff. And then when it comes to actually executing like a final piece, that's the part where I'm like, oh wait, I have to go look up this other thing. So concept art to me felt like kind of like really coming home in a way. And I loved it so much. So when I went to graduate school, that's actually what I studied there was concept art. But I don't know, through the whole process, I've kind of started feeling like I want to do my own thing instead of doing stuff for other people. And that is something that I never in a million years thought would ever happen to me. I was always like, no, you can do art for other people and then no one will judge you for your ideas. They can just say, that arm looks weird. And you can be like, okay, I'll fix that. It's not like you have shitty ideas. So I've started moving more in that direction of doing my own thing, and also living where we do. It's a lot easier for me to work that into my lifestyle as it is right now. Living in California was untenable. It's too expensive, just too far from family. And at the time, you know, especially like if you were well established in the industry, you didn't have to be out there. But if you're starting out, you really have to be there.
Yeah.
And my guess is that's still the case. You know, the new kids always kind of get shit on. So
yeah. No, that grind is no joke.
So when
trying to find your place, trying to get established.
Yeah. So when we moved away, I was kind of like, okay, what am I going to do now? As far as style goes, you know, I've been influenced by Disney anime, classic American illustrators. So my style tends to be more painterly, but my proportions tend to be more on the cartoony side, kind of a stylized thing. And then, you know, if I'm drawing, which a lot of my work ends up with just like line drawing with some splashes of color, and that tends to be really focused more on draftsmanship. So I have been told that I have excellent draftsmanship, so that always feels nice.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so style is kind of melding of just all of my interests. And I think part of it also was that I loved cartooning, but I also loved painting with oil paints and just physically painting. And I was finding it difficult because, you know, cartooning is a very more of a clean digital graphic thing. And, you know, painting is a very messy, kind of mushy, but controlled thing. And I was trying to do both at the same time with limited time resources. And then I was like, why don't I just take these two things that I love and put them together?
Yeah. So. And I know it's weird for me when I take a step back and like I've had that realization. I was like, you dummy, why didn't you see this before, put this together before and everything? But I was like, but there's something about like as you're working through it, I couldn't see it. Like I had the blinders on and it wasn't until I took a minute and stepped back, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is how I do this. This is how I make this work. And I don't think, even if you told me, I don't think I could have gotten to that point before I did.
Yeah. And honestly, looking at art concept books really helped bring me to that place, because most of the concept artwork that's in those books is extremely loose. It's not like the end product gets really cartoony and very stylized, but the actual like concept work that happens before that is extremely expressive. And it's really more about light and shadow and color, which is stuff that I'm really interested in. So, you know, that kind of helped me. I was like, it's not a huge leap from one to the other. I just am not doing it for someone's movie. That's all.
Yeah. No.
So
No, it's awesome. And I've said it before, but I want to reiterate how much, like, after seeing your stuff, like, your style draws me in so much. So I'm always excited when you're creating art. So selfishly, I'm just happy.
Thank you. I'm actually excited. I'm going to be going out and I'm going to be painting plein air style tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I haven't done that in about 10 years. It's been a really long time. So I'm excited about it.
That's awesome.
It's going to be so nice.
Yay. So you worked on a whole bunch of different projects, a lot of stuff that we talked about in finding your way and everything. What's a project that you are really proud of that you have made?
Oh, you're hitting me right in the hard places.
I know.
That I am proud of. I mean, I had my solo show. And that was oh my God, I'm trying to think of how long ago that was.
Oh, I was gonna say I remember it, but I couldn't tell you years because time doesn't make sense to me. It's gonna be longer ago than I realize, and
I think it's gonna be like, I think it's like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, so that was what I was thinking, because that show was phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah, that show was based on fairy tales, folklore, and specifically women in folklore, and how they always kind of seem to get a raw deal. Like, and, you know, folk tales, being folk tales, you know, the characters tend to be very one-dimensional. So I took some, you know, some well-known fairy tales like Snow White and The Little Mermaid, and I took some less well-known fairy tales like trying to think of the name of it. It's like the Bearskin, I think is what it was called. There were a couple in there that I was like, I don't, they're so unwell known that at this point I don't remember the original names of them, which is terrible. But I sort of like rewrote the stories a little bit, not a full story, more of a like a pitch or a synopsis, where I was like, what if this character was this other kind of person? It was based very loosely on the idea of the fairy tale. So, and then I painted like a scene from it, basically. They'd probably act as like book covers, I guess.
Yeah, there were very cool snapshots, but also like teasers in a way where I was just like,
yeah,
it's giving you enough information to get you excited about it, but it's not giving you the full story, but it makes you want to learn more.
I was kind of thinking of it in terms of like, you know, when you pick up a book and you read the back of it. So like the back of the book and then the cover, sort of. Yeah. That wasn't like my official take on it, but that's kind of how I was working with it. I didn't want to spend a lot of time writing the stories because like that's a whole nother realm that I would just like, I'd start writing stories and then I just would never get to the artwork. So I didn't want to get too caught up in that part of it. I just wanted to be like, hey, what if this, so like there was this one story called Silver Hands. It's this really awful story about a princess who like she gets framed for murder, and she has her hands chopped off and she lives alone in the forest for really, like, it's just like this really dark, and then she's like so forgiving and so sweet and quiet that God comes down and blesses her with silver hands, and like that's the story. And I'm like, wow, that's really like, that's so sad.
Yeah, that's dark.
Yeah, and dark. I mean, a lot of folk tales are not, they're for children, but in the way that you terrify your children so that they'll never do anything ever.
Yeah, like, they have not gone through the Disneyfying to make them a little bit less terrifying.
Yeah, they haven't. They're not going to Disneyfy this, or if they do, I don't know. Anyway, and so my take on it was, you know, what if like she was I don't know, a steampunk mechanic, and she clockwork artist, and she lost her hands because someone sabotaged her work, and then she had to build her own hands, and so she built her own hands with the help of, you know, like I like reframed the story to give more agency to the main characters.
Yeah.
So
no, it's
and
funny because
sometimes
I was thinking of that steampunk piece specifically because I liked that one so much, and
yeah
steampunk is just a fun style, so it was like it
yeah
fit really well. That's awesome.
yeah yeah so it was fun. I enjoyed it a lot, and you know, looking back on them now, I do have a tendency to be like, well, I could have done that better. But overall,
Always.
I'm very proud of myself. You know, I got the show done. I was working in a size much larger than I am used to working still, even. I did those,
Yeah.
they were that size. They were like 2 by 3 foot.
I was gonna say they were huge.
Yeah. And my usual size is like 8 by 10. So it was really branching out for me. It was hard.
Yeah.
But it was good.
It was good, and it turned out great.
Yeah.
So I know we've talked like oil paints and stuff like that, but is there another medium that you really love working in?
Watercolor. I have recently become very obsessed with watercolor. I've started playing around with some gouache, which has been really interesting. I spent a lot of years hating gouache because I had to take my color theory class in gouache, and the teacher was, I loved my teacher, but the requirements of the class meant that you had to mix everything extremely precisely, and you had to have like all flat, like no like streaking. The color had to be perfectly mixed and perfectly arranged, and it was all gouache. And I was just like, this medium sucks. Because it's hard to do that. Yeah. But it would have been hard to do that in any medium. So yeah, a similar thing happened with watercolor, where I was not given the best impression of it by, you know, a painting teacher, and I was just like, this not for me. And then I decided to just try it one time for a sketchbook, color adding, just something easy to carry around with me.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's awesome, and I love it. You just have to approach it in the right way. That is to say, they're not oil paints, and so you can't treat them like they're oil paints.
Yes. And I know I've gotten to do a couple of watercolor streams, and I know I watched you work in watercolor during one of our Doodle Crews, and it took me kind of reassessing my brain and how I was approaching the medium in order to feel better about it, because I had lived in acrylics for so long. Like, that was my jam. This is where I live. I understand this. This works in my brain. So to approach watercolor that way is to set yourself up for failure, and you can push it and grind it as hard as you want, but it will win because it's not that type of medium. And then, you know, you're there with just a mushy piece of paper. So
you have to be gentle.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I don't talk about it too much, is charcoal. I love drawing with charcoal. So, which I feel like you either love charcoal or you hate it. I feel like there's rarely an in between. I happen to fall on the I love it side. So, so those are my media. I do digital painting too. Usually if I have some kind of client work or a job that's not for me, I will do it digitally, unless there's, you know, if they really want an actual physical painting.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's just, and especially with any sort of, you know, both of us doing commission work at times, like the speed difference at times can be make or break. If you have a lot of art you need to get done, sometimes it is just, it's so much faster in digital that you can't get around that.
Yeah, I can get pretty fast in watercolor, but if they were like, hey, I don't like the arm in that place, I can be like, okay, boop.
Yeah.
I don't have to like start completely over. So, yeah, that editing that editing thing is irreplaceable. Like you really just can't duplicate that in watercolor. So
Yes. No, I agree. And I think it was once I moved into more commercial art and I was doing what I refer to as like cut and paste art or ready-made art, like to try, like I would still sketch stuff out because that's how my brain works, but to put together things that you were going to show to clients that needed changes, to do something like that in a drafting capacity and not have the computer be like, no, thank you. Nope.
yeah.
I want to be able to just point and click and move this around quick and then send the file to them and be done.
Yeah. Yep. So
you tackled all of those mediums that you're talking about. Is there still a medium out there that scares you or intimidates you to work in, or have you gotten comfortable enough with most of them?
trying to think. Watercolor, I guess, like, so acrylic I never worked much in. I don't think I'm scared of it. I just I'm gonna sound like a real snob here. I feel like oil paint does what acrylic does, but better.
Yes. No, I don't think you're wrong at all. And I think I played in watercolor or in acrylic because it was safe and it was comfortable and it wouldn't make a mess. And that works
Right.
very well for my simplistic painting.
Well, and like acrylic has a lot of other benefits, you know, that oil, like it's easier to clean up. It dries a lot fast. There's a lot of really excellent reasons to use acrylic paint. But I don't have to do any of that. So I prefer oil paints. Now, you know, maybe I'll get bored of all my other mediums that I'm trying out and decide to try acrylic paint and decide that it really is like the best. And I will not, that could totally happen. I've already been converted on both watercolor and amazingly gouache. Like can't even figure that one out. So
the sky's the limit now.
basically.
I like it. So I think talking about switching up mediums and trying new things is a great thing, but are there other things that you do to work yourself through an art slump, or specific things that you need in order to get yourself out of that slump?
I have a number of different things that I will do, and I basically I kind of like run through the list until I find what works. So usually the fastest thing for me is just going for like a walk. So if I can, you know, just go for a walk and then the art slump, it feels better, then that's great. But that's, yeah, usually it takes more than that. So, you know, I've reading a book. I try not to do that too much because it is relaxing, but I also have a tendency to just sit there and read the whole book. So, which is, you know, then I'm kind of like, well, maybe I needed to sit there and read the whole book, but then it's, you know, like 3 days later. And so, but the thing actually that I've been into right now, kind of obsessively, is plants. So now that the weather is still nice, I will go out and I will dig in the yard a little bit and weed some things. And I have a bunch of plants that I should plant at some point. They're just kind of hanging out waiting to be put in the ground. So, and I have a lot of house plants. So sometimes just going around and checking on all of them and watering them and maybe repotting a plant if I'm like, I really just need to like do something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny how like, I don't know, even like 15, 30 minutes going around looking at my plants and watering them and taking care of them makes me feel a lot better for some reason. So that's a new thing though. I don't know where that came from.
Again, I think there's so many new things.
So many new things.
There's a great like tactile thing about like moving soil around and tending to them and that kind of stuff. And I think it's, even for those of us who work in a hands-on medium like clay or something like that, I think it's enough of a separation that it helps.
Yeah. Yeah. My big problem is sometimes I'll be like, I'm in a slump, I need to do something. And then I'll be like,
yeah,
the worst thing to do. That is something I'm trying to like stop. No phone. It never helps. It always makes it worse.
Yes.
So I don't know why I keep doing it, but
I think, I mean,
they're
again,
from the devil.
my armchair speculation, I know, there are dopamine bumps that you get from different things, or at least for me, getting
Yeah.
lost scrolling through Instagram or scrolling through TikTok or any of that, like it lets my brain kind of turn off for a little bit, which is okay in little bits. But then my problem is, I'll look up and I'll be like, oh my gosh, it's been 3 hours and I've not accomplished anything and I've lost that time. And then what I'm trying to work on now is not berating myself for another 3 hours about losing the first 3 hours and then wasting my whole day. But it's
Yeah.
hard because it's a time suck and it will pull you in. And I don't
It's
get
bad.
that relief. Like I don't get out of an art slump by going deep on the internet and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
once in a while, if I'm looking to just kind of move some thoughts around, I might play around on Pinterest a little bit and try and get like idea sparks from that. But I stay away from any of the social medias like Facebook or Twitter or any of those, just because that's not going to get me an art inspiration bump. It's just going to get time lost.
No, I think I think part of that comes from also my tendency to over research things. Like I'll go down a rabbit hole. I'll be like, I need to look up hands in a particular pose. And sometimes I'm smart about it and I'll like take my own photograph, but sometimes I'm not in a position where I can do that. So I'll be like, I'll just find a picture on the internet. How hard could it be? It's hard.
It's hard. Finding poses can be really hard.
Not for lack of choices. There's always lots of choices, but finding the exact right pose and then the right lighting, or finding some to put together, and then you're like, ooh, shiny. This thing is selling plants over here, and maybe I should look at Etsy a little bit. And
yep.
And then, like you said, it's been 3 hours, and I'm like, oh shit, I was just looking for a picture of hands.
Yeah. Yep. It's literally the SpongeBob screen that comes up and 3 hours later, and you're like, oh shit.
You're like, I still don't have my reference photo. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No.
I think I should just start leaving it in the other room, honestly. Just like keep it in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then not look at it ever.
That's been a big thing I've also noticed because I do so much digital art and a lot of my communication comes through on the computer as well. There are times where I will purposely, close down Discord. I will make sure that I don't have any Chrome tabs open. And I'm like, nope, the phone is already away, but also like nothing is going to beep or buzz at me. And I'm just going to sit and work through this and work on this. And then when we take a break and we stretch and we get some water, then we can look and see, that part of it. Because if not, then like you never get a chance to get into that flow and that kind of rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a struggle. But yeah, so I try to stick to plants.
So. I like it. No, I think that's going to be one of my next, my weird, like find a new hobby and art thing, which is not a thing I need, but I'm going to do anyways, is I want to genuinely get better at painting plants because I'm crap at it and I keep wanting to get better. And just like you, like I need to look up some references. I just need to practice working on getting plants.
Just buy a couple of houseplants and then you have permanent reference.
We could go through the stages of life. I was like, this is when Emily first bought it, and then when she stopped caring for it, and here's what it looks like when it's dead.
Get a spider plant.
Yeah. I was like, anything like cactus or succulent, like those seem pretty hardy. I kept an aloe plant alive for a while. I was really proud of that.
Cactus are pretty, I have a hard time killing cactus. A lot of succulents are pretty easy. I have to be honest, the rosette ones, like the ones that look like pretty flowers, I kill those all day. No idea why.
Oh, that's too funny.
Aloe is fine. A lot of the other succulents, but anything that's shaped like a rosette. 3 months at the most, and then it's dead. That's not true. I have some that have stuck around a little bit longer than that, but they're not doing well.
Yeah, I got gifted an air plant, and it was a wonderful gift. It didn't come with instructions, and I killed it. I'm like, I didn't know. I was like, wait, I was not supposed to water it? They're like, no, you don't water it. I'm like, I don't understand.
Well, you are supposed to kind of water. You're supposed to soak it in water and then take it out. I think you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
like once a month or
Again,
something. Not very often.
instructions would have been very helpful. It was not good.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Somehow I've managed to not kill any of the plants that I bought this summer. I have no idea how that happened.
I
Probably
like it.
because I'm checking on them like every 5 minutes and being like, "How are you today?"
How are you? I'm going to talk to
I
you in a
have an
nice
art
voice.
slump, so I only come to say hi when I'm having an art slump. So that's like 5 times a day.
Oh, I'm thinking now maybe one of our prompts for the upcoming Doodle Crew season just needs to be plants. Like we need to do something
Yeah,
fun with plants, and
that'd be fun.
that would be good. Yeah. So speaking of Doodle Crew, this is my big self-serving question. But what do you
Go
like
for
about
it.
Doodle Crew?
My
What have you
God,
enjoyed?
I love all the people. You guys are all great. I don't know about everyone else, but I get lonely sitting in a room by myself painting. And so it's really great to see outside perspectives. And, everyone is so supportive in the group, and I get to support other people, which is nice. That feeds my inner teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I'm teaching anybody anything, but it's like, I don't know, I like giving the encouragement back, it's like a tit for tat, if you will.
No, and it feels good. And I think something that I think is really cool is we have such a diverse range of artists who have diverse
Yeah.
specialties. And with
Yeah.
someone, like Mayor Squish, who is our mod, the tech side of it, she knows so, so well. But as far
She's
as
so good at that.
artists, and she's so good. But art and education, like a lot of us have had more art schooling than her. So we've got that
Mhm.
side. So there's, that beautiful sharing of knowledge, like that feels good. And it
Yeah.
never feels like a competition. It's just, no, I want to share this because you like this thing and I like this thing. And now we can like the thing together.
Yes. Yeah. She has helped me a lot. I'll be like, hey, Mayor Squish, there's something wrong. There's something wrong here, and I don't know what it is, but can you help me?
Please help me.
Please help. And she's
Yep.
always right there. She's
Yeah.
extremely helpful.
Yeah. No,
So,
she's
and
awesome.
she knows her shit. So,
Yes. Yeah. But, she's also talked to me about how excited she was to pick your brain about watercolors. And she's like, no, Laura knows so much about watercolors and this. And I'm just like, friendship.
I love this so much. I haven't been on Discord in a while, so I need to get back on that. I was actually trying to log in earlier today, and it was like, I don't remember you. So I have to go back and figure out.
Yeah. No, time.
That's
And,
what happens when you abandon an app.
Yep. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are like art websites that I was on at one point. I've forgotten the passwords. I've forgotten the website. Like there's probably my stuff floating around out there that I'll never go back to. But
I have my passport or my password for Discord, but they're asking me for an additional code, and I have a bunch of codes written down for them, but they're not the right number. Like it's not taking any of them. I don't know what the problem is. So
no. We'll have to hit up Mayor
I'll
Squish
figure it
after
out.
the thing. Yeah.
I'll figure it out. Or no, I'll get a hold of Mayor Squish. She'll help me.
Can you get me back into my Discord, please?
Like, I miss you guys. I was trying to get back in touch with you all, but
Oh. So, aside from Discord, if people want
yeah.
to find you, follow you, support you, where can people find your amazing art, contact you, commission you, do all of the things?
So everyone can find me at Laura Charles Art. So at Laura Charles Art is my social media. Basically on everything right now, I think. And then my website is www.lauracharles.art.
Nice.
I have that little .art extension there, which is, I really like it, but it does take a minute. People are like, wait, dot what? Like, yeah, not dot. Someone had my name already.
Oh, I was curious about that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Some dude in England has my name, lauracharles.com. He is doing dick with it. I've emailed him and been like, hey, since you're not using it, I'm betting he bought it for like his daughter or something, or I don't know, maybe he like is holding on to it for someone. But he never responded. I was like, I'll buy it from you, because that would be great.
I would love to have that.
I'd love to have that. But yeah, lauracharles.art is good too, because I make art, so it's relevant.
Yeah. Yes. And the big exciting thing, so when this drops, like we talked about before we went live, in about a month, you'll have an exciting thing going up. Do you want to tell people about that?
Yes, I will starting in the first week of November, I am going to be launching my Twitch channel. So I'm technically already on there. I lurk around and stalk people. But I haven't yet to actually start streaming anything. So I'm going to start streaming video of me painting and talking to everyone and myself. And I'm not exactly sure what we'll end up doing with it. It's kind of going to be like a morphing thing. We're going to see where it goes and what I feel like doing with it. So
yeah.
But I'm really excited about it. So
yeah, well, we are very excited.
But if you follow me, you'll be able to see the schedule, because I don't know what the schedule is going to be yet. So
that's
a couple
awesome.
times a week.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
Me too.
Well, thank
and
you
I'll be
so
seeing
much.
you guys more often, because I'll be on there a lot more.
We're so excited. I'm so excited to get back. I've missed it.
I know. I've missed you guys.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah. No, this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this. This was awesome. And we love all of you. Yeah. We'll see you soon.
Love you guys. Love you. Bye. Thank you so much, Emily. This was great.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.